I used to love Oprah, like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gospel. You know, before I was a reporter, I never even thought to question whether Oprah might be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came and I was like, oh my God, she is not a reporter. She's a propagandist. She's trying to shove messaging down my throat of whatever she believes, not what's real. So you remember she did that like kind of factual interview after the quote documentary of Michael Jackson?
Yes.
That was so dishonest.
Yes.
She did not raise any of those accusers' serious compromising facts when she had them right there. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not. But as a journalist, you have to at least ask. You know, you've got multiple lawsuits against his estate, sir. Might that be an incentive to lie? Didn't ask. You've got these accusations against him. You had a book that you were supposed to produce about Michael Jackson in the context of litigation where you were required to turn this stuff over, and you lied saying that you didn't have it. And you only got found out because Random House and these other publishers admitted you shopped it to them and turned over the metadata to Michael Jackson's estate. This guy, my point is simply, this one accuser was very compromised, and she had him right after the documentary. It aired on HBO right after. Didn't ask a question. Then she gets Meghan Markle. That was another propaganda fest where she didn't even try to pretend to be a journalist. And then we get the debacle last night.
Yes. So great point about the Michael Jackson thing, because Oprah is a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. Right? You would think anyone, especially a journalist coming from that background, would view him with a bit more of a jaundiced eye rather than be in the business of image rehabilitation for this guy.
No, but she wasn't. My point is coming from the other way. She had the accusers there, and the accusers may or may not have had this experience with Michael Jackson.
Oh, you're talking about the HBO doc? Yes.
But she failed to bring up prior inconsistencies in their stories that really did compromise their stories. I don't know what happened.
I understand what you're saying.
So I'm just saying, as a journalist, which she purports to be,
right,
it was a complete fail.
Right.
And then she committed the same failure with Meghan Markle,
yes,
where she didn't press any of her claims of racism in the royal family. And now we have the ultimate culmination of her journalistic fails, right? Where she has the potential next president of the United States. And not only does she not ask her hard questions, the whole thing was an attempted rehab and repackaging of her.
That town hall I thought was so suspicious because I thought, okay, if anybody's going to elicit some specifics out of Kamala, it'll be Oprah, right? Oprah's going to do her velvet glove treatment, as Kamala loves to answer questions with a preamble that can sort of lead her on these roads to nowhere.
Middle-class family.
Middle-class family. As you know, I prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, her 3 favorite words in the English language.
She did it again.
But Oprah padded this 90-minute special with all of these, like, people who were speaking as Kamala's surrogates before Kamala enters. And then Kamala begins with her bullshit. There was nothing of substance. And you saw it when Oprah was, like, trying to get this answer out of her about immigration. And she's going on about the transnationals and blah, 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 blah. And she finally finishes and Oprah says, right, but what would you do? You're going to sign a bill, right? When it hits your desk, you'll sign. Oh, yes. That was the one thing we got out of that incredibly thin gruel.
Which we already heard. We already heard her say that at the debate. It wasn't even news that they made. Here is that moment.
What would be specific steps to strengthening the border?
So it's a wonderful and important question. You know, my background was as a prosecutor, and I was also the elected attorney general for 2 terms of a border state. So this is not a theoretical issue for me. Sadly, where we are now can be traced most recently back to the fact that when the United States Congress, members of the Congress, including some of the most conservative Republicans, came up with a border security bill, and Donald Trump called up those folks and said, don't put that bill on the floor for a vote. My work and my career has always been about saying, let's fix problems. Let's address the needs because we know it's within our capacity to do that.
So to answer Justin's question, now that that bill has gone and hasn't passed, will you reintroduce that?
Absolutely. And when I am elected president of the United States, I will make sure that bill gets to my desk and I will sign it into law.
We already knew that, Oprah. She said that at the debate. Oprah is no longer in the business of staying up on the news. I bet she didn't even watch the damn debate. She's reading undoubtedly from blue cards her staff gave her. That's how the Oprah Winfrey Show was shot. Oprah didn't have to think of her own questions. I know. I've spoken with her executive producers over the years, all of them. And there was no ad-libbing. It was all impromptu or on a blue card for Oprah. She doesn't know she's not making big news with this revelation. She said she'll sign the same shitty so-called border bill that they rejected the last time because it would let 5,000 illegals over the border a day.
Yeah. Also, I thought while watching that, Oprah and her producers were in constant communication with Kamala and her team. They were given every talking point they were going to hit. This is the best she can do, by the way. When they give her the talking points in advance, when they say, we're going to have a girl stand up, that poor girl who talks about her childhood sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. And what does Kamala do? Oprah, I don't know if you've heard this story, but you know, when I was in high school, my best friend was being sexually abused by her stepfather. And I said, we've heard this story so many times. And it makes me crazy because she is using this poor woman's sexual abuse as a valorization of herself.
So true.
It's so disgusting. And then to watch the likes of Julia Roberts up there on her Zoom. Oh, Madam Vice President. Oh, and by the way, hi, Oprah. And Oprah's like, hi, Oprah. Don't I get more? And she's like, well, we just saw each other. You know, this whole idea that it's this clubby elite group of celebrities who are deigning to speak with the great unwashed about the future of this country. Mm-hmm. Meryl Streep, to your intro, who called Harvey God at like the Oscars or the Globes or whatever, is up there pretending to go, President Harris.
It was such acting. It was unusually bad for Meryl Streep. We have that moment. Let's watch it.
Hello, President Harris.
Not yet.
I can tell you're acting.
47 days.
47 days, yes.
From my mouth to God's ear. And hello, Oprah. I wanted to ask you, I can't believe I had this opportunity. I probably never will again. I have a little Debbie Downer moment because actually, I think you're going to win. I'm sure you're going to win. But what happens when you win and he doesn't accept it? Mm-hmm. I wonder if we're ready for January 7th, 8th, 9th, and what happens? What happens?
Oh my God. Maureen, reaction. Reaction.
What happens? What happens? Will you save us? Well, you know, Kamala's answer was substantive as usual. It's like, okay, let's take a step back. For a candidate who loves to posit herself as that of the future, she's always loving taking a step back to educate the rest of us as to how we got here, as if we're not living it in real time in ways none of these elitists are.
She doesn't know the answer, so it's just stall tactic.
Stall tactic, the fact that all these filler words.
Yes. And the repetition, our dreams and hopes and aspirations, our thoughts, it's like she just does a string of consciousness on every word she can come up with to substitute for the first word just to stall actual substance.
Did you happen to see John McWhorter on Bill Maher defending her with this garbage verbiage?
What? John McWhorter, it's a betrayal.
I know. I love him as well. But he actually said her words don't actually mean the words that she's spouting. I couldn't believe this came out of his mouth. The words are mere symbols of what she's trying to express. And when she speaks in triplicate, as she does to people who are like, I can't afford to buy a home. Well, young people with their goals, their dreams, their ambitions, like all this stuff that's meant to make her sound smart, but it just makes her sound full of hot air. There's
Yes.
nothing coming out. There's no substance.
Maureen,
Help me.
I've said this before. There was a personality on Fox News who shall go nameless for the purposes of this discussion who used to do this. And I used to watch her and marvel because this is how she would answer certain questions. You know, what do you think about the Democrats doing X? I think it's inappropriate, it's wrong, it's deeply problematic, and it must be stopped. And we are just the ones to stop it. We are not going to tolerate this for one more minute, not one more day, not another month. It's outrageous what they've done, and it must come to an end. Every answer sounded like that. You've said nothing. You've said it forcefully, but you've said absolutely nothing. And I used to marvel at like the word salad that was offered up by this person and accepted by others as somehow legit analysis. And that is who Kamala Harris reminds me of. Just filler to cover an absence of actual knowledge.
Yeah, and her answer to Merrill, who's cowering in her multi-million-dollar estate as to what happens after the election that she's so sure Kamala's going to win, whatever, was that, well, we just can't tolerate it. We can't tolerate it.
What does that even mean?
And she speaks, I know you've touched on this, but the other thing that bothers me about her immensely is her voice. I find it so grating to listen to. It's nasal. It's glottal. She's vocal fry adjacent. Is she not a prosecutor of transnational organizations, or is she not? Why does she speak like a 13-year-old girl?
You did not vote for this economic downturn and the high inflation, but you could be paying for it at the pump, the grocery store, and with growing stacks of unpaid bills. Financial stress can be crushing, and one solution could be donewithdebt.com. Done with Debt created new, aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently without bankruptcy or loans. Done with Debt can stand between you and bill collectors. They negotiate with your creditors to write off balances, cut interest, and stop penalties. And the best news is Done with Debt is accepting new clients right now. But you do need to hurry because some of their debt relief strategies are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Let Done with Debt hit the debt reset button for you and make your money yours again. Visit donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 now. Chat with one of their debt relief strategists for free. That's donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.